Welcome to Japan Seikatsu. I'm Ian, and today we have a fascinating interview with the well-known author Thibaut Meurisse, who has published over a dozen books on self-help, accomplishing your goals, accomplishing your dreams. Thibaut has an interesting journey. He was born in France, learned English, learned Japanese, moved to Japan, where he was a CIR on the JET program. From the JET program, he then got his MBA at Hitotsubashi University in Tokyo. After that, he worked for a Japanese consulting company for several years in Tokyo. And from that, he became now a very well-known author with books published in multiple languages, including Japanese. So without further delay, let's get started with the interview with Thibaut. Welcome, Thibaut, to Japan Seikatsu. It's great to have you on our show. Very excited to speak to you today. It's, I think the experience you've had just covers a lot of topics that the audience and myself are very interested in. So your journey from the JET program in Japan to becoming now, a very well-known author with well over a dozen books written across multiple languages. I'd love to dig into the journey today. First off was you did the JET program, and unlike a lot of people that are ALTs, you were a CIR. So I'm curious if you could talk to me about why did you choose the JET program and becoming a CIR, and where in Japan you did the program.
Okay, so first, thanks for having me, Ian. So we know each other for years now, since the MBA we did together in Tokyo. It's like 2013, I guess.
Yeah,
8 years ago. It's great. Yeah.
Time flies.
Great. Yeah, great talking to you. Well, so I have a kind of interesting background, I guess. So first, I actually major in Japanese in France. So, and the reason why, just because I don't know, I just find it very interesting to study Japanese. I wasn't like this otaku, like anime fan or anything like that. Just, I don't know, I guess I've been influenced by, Dragon Ball and all this stuff on TV. And I was just curious about this kanji, it's in Japanese, so the Chinese characters. Like, how can you read that? It just doesn't make sense to me. And one day I decided to study Japanese by myself. I was in high school. Like, I think it was last year of high school, and just enjoyed it so much that I decided to study Japanese. And like a year later, I just decided to drop everything else I was doing. Like, I was studying other stuff at the same time. So I decided to go with Japanese only, and also some English as well. I moved to Paris. So I basically majored in Japanese, got a master's degree in Japanese studies. And I was at the point where, okay, what's next step for me? I had this master's degree now. I need to find a job or do something about it. So there was kind of two choices for me, I guess. One would be to do like this kind of, PhD, trying to get this scholarship from Japanese government and go to Japan and do this kind of PhD.
Right.
And the other option was the JET program. Everybody wanted to do that, to be on this program, which is very selective for CIRs, which is it's coordinator for international relations. So that's why I applied for in France. And I think that year we had like 5 people that were accepted. So I was one of the 5. So I was very, very fortunate.
Wow. So
I ended up going to Japan, to Tochigi Prefecture, which people probably don't know where it is. It's north of Tokyo. So it's also kind of close to Fukushima as well. So people probably might know about, I've heard about Fukushima, obviously. So I went there from 2009, 2011 for 2 years as a CIR. For me, I did a lot of school visits. So middle school, junior high school, primary schools. And I was just talking about France. So basically we talk about, what do we eat for breakfast and what do we do? What are our hobbies? So all stuff like that. So I think I did, 60s, maybe school visits.
Wow.
Over like 2 years. And all the stuff I did was like translation. So like, tourist sightseeing stuff, brochures, pamphlets. So also some I created this word of the week.
Oh, okay.
So there was a Chinese CIR, a CIR from the US, and me. So 3 CIRs, and we did like, we turned like every week we'll do a word of the week, US, China, France. So I was talking about, some different words in French and what do they mean, and how is it different, trying to talk about basically the differences between Japan and France, so cultural differences. So that's one thing I did as well. And also some like small conferences about France, talking about history or stuff like that. So basically there was a room for me to create some kind of project to a certain extent, and some things I had to do as part of my job, like going to schools and talking about France. So I did that for 2 years, and basically they didn't have the budget to renew the contract. So that's basically, I had to find to do something else.
Right.
And I was able to actually move to a different position in a different prefecture. So it's a very rare case, but it's possible because I did it. So I basically asked someone I knew was a French lady who was in Gifu prefecture. She was leaving, and I said, maybe I can find a way to go there. So I was able to do that actually. So from 2011 to 2013, for 2 more years, I was able to remain a CIR basically. And in this prefecture, we had other jobs like we have that connection with some prefecture in France, Vaucluse prefecture in South France. So we had some people coming from this prefecture. We have students coming as well. One time we had actually the ambassador. So the French ambassador in Tokyo.
Wow.
We just his job is basically to visit different prefectures, and as part of his job, so he went to Gifu for a few days. So I was also in charge of doing some kind of translation, interpreting.
Wow.
So not everything, because he also had his like interpreters, but I was also in charge of doing some part of it, especially the sightseeing part.
Right.
That's really hard because you had to explain stuff about history, about some crafts they have in the town and the prefecture, and traditions they have. So it's a lot of work, like preparation, learning the new words, trying to understand the Japanese, trying to do your best to translate it. Which is it's a job. So I didn't have the education to do it. I didn't have the training to do it, but we have to do our best.
Right.
So that's what I did for 2 years as well.
But Thibaut, about that, so I know you studied a lot of Japanese in school, and then to be a CIR, I mean, you need to be essentially fluent in Japanese. How did you get from that beginning stage of learning Japanese to the level to where you could apply for the CIR role? But then also, when you were in Japan, how did you continue to improve your Japanese to the point to where you're interpreting for the ambassador from France?
Well, one thing that really helped me was just I was passionate about it. I think if you love something, you just keep doing it anyway. Like you do it every day, it doesn't really matter. So I was very consistent, and I was working on my Japanese every single day, even in the weekends, like probably Christmas as well. I don't remember, but I'm sure I was probably doing something. And I also had friends from the very beginning of the first year. I had some Japanese friends in France. It was very, very helpful to learn, like conversational Japanese, new words, having some friends.
Right.
So and I was also majoring in Japanese. So I was doing many hours of studying every day.
Right.
So that's a consistency over a long period of time, which I think is the same. And I always say the same thing, in my books as well. Like just, you have to become a master. You have to be consistent, do something every day over a long period of time, consistently, and try to improve, reflect on what you're doing. And if you do that over time, you become good. It has to, It might not be the best, but you will get to a good level at some point.
Did you ever run into difficulty with motivation? It's such a long journey with Japanese language. There's so many kanji characters to speak to. If you did, how did you get through? How did you persist?
Well, I think actually I didn't. No, because the truth is that I was enjoying it. So I was just doing every day. Well, 2 days I'm not really studying that. I still read some books and do some stuff, but I still enjoy it even to these days. Let me see, 15 years later, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I started studying Japanese in 2004, I think. 17 years is insane.
Wow. Real passion.
That's a long time. Yeah. So I just kept studying, but I think I don't remember for Japanese, but I'm studying Estonian right now.
Right.
So it's not like the same pace. I'm just doing a little bit every day, not even every day, but you always have this kind of plateau, and you just have to go through them and just understand that someday you feel great about yourself, about your progress, and some days or some weeks it's very stable or even going down. You feel like it's going down. But as long as you keep being consistent, you know, like don't get depressed, you keep going, and you're gonna have these ups and downs.
Right.
But you will eventually improve. You know, it's the same for I think every skill is the same.
Right.
It's like a kind of a process you have to accept. It's just how it works, how the brain works as well. You have these ups and downs, and you have this breakthrough some days, some weeks, and you have these valleys and peaks, basically. You know, like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just how it is.
How so you're on the JET program as a CIR, and quite a rare experience, not only as a CIR but also then changing to a new location. How did you go from the JET program to getting a graduate degree, your MBA in Japan? Can you tell me about that process, how you selected the school, or where did that idea come from, and how did you make that jump?
So yeah, so I was in the JET program, and I didn't really know what to do next, because I was always like, oh, I don't know what to do, so let's do one more year as a CIR, which is not always the best solution, but no, at least to give me some time to think about it. And you know, CIR, I think it's the same for ALTs. It's only up to 5 years, I think, max you can do. Maybe it's less now. I don't know. Maybe.
I believe you're right. I believe it's 5 years.
But it's 5 years max. Yeah.
Right.
So then you have to go out and you do something else with your life. So I did 4 years, and I realized, no, what's next? I didn't really know what to do, to be honest. I just wanted to have, again, more options. So I said, okay, if I do this business school, I don't know anything about business, and I like to learn. I'm a learner, so I just want to learn something new. And I said, oh, wow, maybe I can do this MBA stuff, which is, at the time, I was kind of crazy because I didn't really imagine myself doing a business school or something like that. And I had my friend Gauthier, who's also an ex-CIR, French guy. Actually did this same MBA just before me, the year before. So we talked about it, and I said, oh, wow, it's actually interesting. Maybe I can do the same. So I followed his steps. And I applied for the MBA in Hitotsubashi. And then
When you were talking with him, what aspects of the MBA experience seemed exciting to you to want to follow in his steps?
I just wanted to learn about business, and also I knew it's a very good university in Japan, right? So when you want to look for a job after graduating, it's good to know that, okay, this is a great university. So when I want to go and find a job, I will probably find one in Tokyo.
Right.
And because at the time I planned to stay in Japan for a while, so that's kind of makes sense to me. That's a great university, great education, pretty affordable for MBA, right? Compared to the US, is very affordable.
Right.
So that's a kind of good options. And give me some time, buying some time, I guess. Again, like, what do I do? I don't know. Let's go back to study.
That's right. That's right.
But it has the end in mind, right? I had purpose to find a job at the end, so it wasn't like just wasting my time. Yeah.
Right. Thibaut, for some background for the audience, can you speak briefly about Hitotsubashi University and what was it about their MBA program? You had somebody that had been there. You spoke about it's well known, very strong brand in Japan, but
yeah, I think it's actually the best university in terms of, I think, economics in Japan. I think they're the most famous one.
Yeah, very well.
So it makes sense to do an MBA there. And then it's like, I like that it's a small class, like 50 people. And as you know, there are people from different countries. Well, it's mostly Asian, but still, even in Asia, you have diversity of like Chinese and Filipinos and Koreans, Malaysians we had.
Yes.
Taiwanese, I think, yes.
Yes.
And then, we have a couple of guys from US, I guess there was only one French guy this year, it was me. And
Right.
some, like Hungarian guy and some other people from the world. So I like the fact it's a small class, small
Right.
diversity as well. It's in English. I could do in Japanese, but I wanted to do in English as well. I wanted to improve my English.
Right.
So I think it was a good choice. Yeah.
That's an interesting topic. You talked about improving your English, and we're of course having this conversation today in English instead of French. How did you manage two languages? So you've had this, you were learning Japanese this whole time, and you've also were learning and using your English. How do you, I just can't imagine juggling two languages outside of your, your mother tongue. Did they ever compete with each other, or did you ever get confused?
Yeah, it happens actually. Yeah, like sometimes I remember sometimes I would speak in Japanese and I think I thought it was English, or like it actually happened. It's really like, and the better you become, the more like it's become natural to you. So you don't really understand, you don't really realize you're speaking English or in Japanese or in French. Like it's kind of confusing sometimes.
Right.
Not often, of course, but it does happen. I don't know. I think the brain is smart, and we are just smart enough to learn a few different languages.
Right.
I think might not be a good idea to do it at the same time, but if you start with one, you get better and better, and then after a while, you decided to start a new one, might be better.
Right.
Rather than doing this two at the same time is probably hard to do.
Right.
So, but yeah, you can manage. People can just manage that.
With the MBA, so you were talking about you're on the JET program. The JET program does come to an end, and I had that same feeling. It's like, okay, what is next? What is next? This won't last forever. I think a lot of people in the audience can really empathize with that feeling. And you decide you want to go to grad school. You have a contact there, but how do you finance grad school? You're talking, a significant period of time. You're gonna have no income. Even with Hitotsubashi tuition being much more reasonable than a lot of other MBA programs in the US, for example, it's still, you're in Tokyo. I remember you and I would have low cost meals at Selfdevelopment, and that wine that was 100. Can you tell me about how did you finance your MBA and get through?
Yes, I've always been a saver, as opposed to many people in the US, especially. I don't really know how to do that. I always try to save, because for me, saving it gives you freedom and options about the future, right? I mean, if you have money, you can educate yourself, you can do other stuff if you need to.
Right.
So I saved for my 4 years as a CIR. I saved quite some money. Salary was decent, and especially when I was in Gifu, I didn't have to pay for the rent. Actually, it was this. So it was a huge difference. You shouldn't have to pay for your rent, and you have a decent salary. It's a lot of money you can save.
Right.
And I was going out as well, but still I could save money. So I saved for 4 years, and because I don't like to be in debt. So even, for instance, I would never have been to the US, and I would never have done an MBA in the US. For me, it's too expensive.
Right.
I wouldn't do it. That's my philosophy.
Right.
But I knew, okay, this is in Japan, this is affordable. I have savings. I can probably manage to not be into debt, or just a little bit. So I tried, as you know, I tried very hard. So I wasn't spending money. I wasn't going out too often when other guys were.
Right.
So I tried hard I was cooking. I think you can, in Japan, it's not that expensive, the food, if you go to, I don't know, eat some stuff in the convenience store or whatever, or cook your own food, your rice, stuff like that.
Right.
And I did some part-time job as well. Part of it was to make some extra money, and part of it was just for the experience.
Right.
So in my second year as an MBA student, I had more time. So
right.
I work in a convenience store, for instance.
Thibaut, which convenience store did you work at? I'm very curious what that experience was like as a Frenchman working in a Japanese konbini.
Yeah, it was 7-Eleven. So the biggest chain of konbini in Japan. It was very close to where I was living at the time, which was, if people know about Tokyo, close to the Skytree a little bit.
Okay, right.
The big, and Sumiyoshi, you can look for it if you want. And it's mostly, a place where you have a lot of elderlies. So it's quiet. And in the convenience store, you have the same people coming every day, as opposed to, like Shibuya or Shinjuku. It's a very different atmosphere. So obviously, as a foreigner, especially as a white, because nowadays we have a lot of people from India, Korea, China in convenience stores in Japan, a lot of them. But the white people, not so many. So some people were surprised, they talk to me in English or try to practice their English or whatever. But it was interesting. Obviously it wasn't great money, but it was just a way to make some extra money and finance myself and just have some new experiences.
Right.
And in the end, I did borrow a little bit of money from my parents, a few $1,000s at the end of the MBA, but it wasn't that much.
Right.
So I managed to get out of debt, avoid going into debt, which I don't really like.
Yeah.
So that's great. No, if you can get an MBA and you have no debt, it's pretty good, right? I mean,
I think
you're in a good position. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Now, Thibaut, we were classmates at this time, so I remember this period very well. And you've since become a very well-known author, around topics like self-development, pursuing dreams and goals, and accomplishing those dreams and goals. At this time, I know you were diving into a lot of literature on this topic because we would have conversations about it. But can you tell me a little bit about that journey? Where did your interest in self-development come from? And
actually, it remind me of one thing we did in the MBA. We had this mission, vision, value class. Remember that?
Yes.
And we actually had to write down like some kind of plans or goals or dreams. Do you remember this assignment? Right? I actually don't have what I wrote. I don't have it now. I know some people have it. But I actually wrote down, I'm going to become, like this self-help guy, and I'm going to inspire people. And this just before it happened. So it was interesting. And so, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of frustrated with not being so confident in my life. I could feel like I could do more stuff, and I was kind of frustrated. So this kind of, at one point in my life, I realized, okay, if I want to do stuff, if I want to accomplish my dreams, have an impact, I have to wake up, right? Because we won't be living forever. So I was 30 at the time, about around 30, 27, 30. So, okay, if I need to do stuff, I need to do it now. I don't know, it's kind of a wake up call, I guess. And I started a blog about personal development first, wrote some articles on my blog. No, didn't work out the first few years, I guess. Well, but then I just kept going. Yeah.
Can we talk about those first few years? Because you graduated from the MBA program.
Oh yeah.
And then you got this very good job working, in the consulting industry in Tokyo. At the same time, I know that you were doing a lot of this on the side.
Yeah.
Well, what was that like? How did you find a job in Tokyo? What was it like working in a complete Japanese business environment?
Yeah, so I applied for a few consulting jobs. Not many actually, so I was lucky to get one pretty quickly, I would say. It was from a Japanese company with, I think at the time they had 50 employees maybe. Now they have probably 100, 150, I think.
Oh, wow.
At the time I was the only foreigners, so it's that's good. You're the only foreigner in the company. It was in Japanese, obviously, most of the time. So there was some challenges. Even if my Japanese was good, it's still, I guess you have to do some more extra mental work just to be able to catch up as a non-native speaker. But it was okay. But the thing is, I wasn't like passionate about my job at the time. I really realized I don't want to be an employee. Right. No, I have nothing against being an employee. I think we need employees, but just I realized it doesn't work for me.
Right.
And even in the CIR time, I just something was off. Right. So I don't know. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I kind of this feeling I had, and I just realized, okay, I just need to be on my own, at least create my own stuff, which I did. I quit my job at some point. But I had this realization. I'm better. I'm better when I work on my own stuff, and I'm more productive, and I get better results. So that's what I did in the end.
Now, that feeling that you had of this doesn't feel right, I don't feel aligned, and observing that you do better when you're working on your own stuff that you're passionate about. But still, it's quite, you have this good job, you're working in Tokyo, and that path forward to becoming an author, I mean, that seems like it's one thing if you want to become a doctor, you just you go to medical school, and there's lots of people have followed that path. How did you pull through? How did you make the jump from, I'm going to leave this well-paying job with this Japanese company, and that path is so foggy almost?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that from an external point of view, right? But in my mind, I was already obsessed with what I wanted to do. So it wasn't that way. And also there was this gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, and also between what I was doing at the time and what I wanted to do. So when you have this, it's a pain pleasure thing.
Right.
When you have pain at your job, most people are like, might be satisfied with that job, but it's like, yeah, it's okay, kind of, it's okay, they get paid. But for me, it wasn't that anymore. I was like, oh, I need to get out of here. So once you have this, but if you only have this, it's hard because you have no plan. But if you have, oh, I need to get out of here and I want to go there, then you had the motivation to do it and you had the energy to do it. So I think if you don't have that, you get stuck basically.
Right.
So I was lucky to be in both situations where I wanted to get out. When I was working as a consultant, one project my boss was kind of hard on me every day. I was getting, yelled at, and I was like, he was a very smart guy, but he wasn't really he wasn't a good coach, I guess, or leader. I don't know. So my motivation was destroyed. I was like, I couldn't wake up in the morning. Sometimes it would take 40 minutes to just get out of bed.
Wow.
To go to work, and I was like, I actually went through. I finished this project and did something else after that. So I still, kept going, but I was like, I need to get out of here.
Was that one of those moments that it just motivated you to make that leap? And I guess this journey, you've now written many, many books, but it began with one book. Tell me about that. It's unimaginable to most people to write a book, and you were doing this also in English. So when did that come in the process?
Yeah, it was hard because, when you write in English, you're like who am I? First, who am I to write a book, which is what most people feel, when you write a book. Then who am I to write a book in a foreign language? Who am I to write a book in a foreign language in a very competitive market where I have no experience and it's ridiculous. Because I'm in the self-help market, so personal development. It's very competitive. It's crowded. It's in English. I wasn't a coach. I wasn't a writer. I have no degrees in English or anything like that. So it was interesting. Yeah, it's part of the game. If I'm right about my theory about personal development, I should be able to reach my goal that I had, which I eventually did. But okay, if I'm really, really working on myself, on my mindset, on my, working on improving and applying everything I'm learning, I should be able to get there. So I had the belief I would get there. And so first I had a blog, and it wasn't really working out. And then one day I realized I can write books on Amazon, as a self-published author. I said, okay, let's just write a short book about goal setting.
Right.
So I just put it out back in 2015. And I know I was started to make a few dollars a month, $50, $100 a month. Oh, wow, it's nice. Because I was making no money at the time online.
Right.
So it showed me the possibilities. And then I get great reviews as well on the book.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, wow, people like it. I like it. There is kind of match. As opposed to my job, I was not really doing a good job, in my opinion.
Right.
But I was doing something good, right? Something right.
Right.
And I felt good about that. So I just kept going. I said, I wrote a second book. It was a little bit later, but I did at this time when I was kind of not working on my books, kind of stuck, just going to work. But then again, the pain of work just got to me, and I said, okay, I have to write more books, and I had to get there.
Right.
So I looked at the competitions and said, okay, there are guys there, like a few guys in the US who are making very good money from their books. I can do that. Okay, I can do the same. So that's how I just kept going, and I put a second book and a third book, 4, 5, 6, and then the 7th books took off, and then the 9th books took off, and just kept going from that. But it was a long process, so not making money, a couple of years, 2, 3 years, losing money, and what am I doing in my life, kind of stuff, kind of time.
Now, in that journey, you said the 7th book was the one that really took off. At what point did you leave your job?
Yeah, I actually left before that. That's the thing,
That's a big risk. You took a big
jump. If you think logically, people would tell you, you have to work on your side hustle. Then once you make enough money, more money than your job, you can quit. I think it's okay, but for me, it's too logical. It is good advice. I wouldn't recommend people to do the same as me, but I think if you're not logical, irrational people, you're emotional people, right? So I had to get out. So I went out, I quit my job, and I say, I can do that. I had a few books out there already. I had some good feedback. I had this like people like business model I could see working for me in the long term.
Right.
So for me, it was like I was on the right track, and I couldn't believe it. I was believing it would happen at some point in some way.
Right.
But yeah, I just say, I wasn't making money at the time in my business, and I quit my job. So yeah, I had some savings, from the job. Again, savings give you options.
Right.
That's why I always save. Give me so much. Savings, allowed me to do an MBA without debt. They allowed me to create my business.
Right.
So it's quite huge, to be a saver. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's good. And so that's what I did. So I quit my job in 2017. And also, I have to mention I went back to France because I didn't have a visa anymore to stay in Japan. I mean, I guess I could have stayed a few more months. I had a visa, but I didn't want to abuse the system. So I'm not working there. So I had to leave Japan, went back to my parents for a while, which is not easy because, I was 32 at the time.
Right.
So my parents are nice. So I didn't, I don't really have any problem staying there for a while. And then I was, what's the next step? And I actually eventually went to Estonia, which is another story, I guess. But it's a lot of not risk, but a lot of stuff to do and big steps.
How many years were you in Japan? So by 2017, when you moved back to France, how many years had that been?
Oh yeah, it was from 2009, so it's like 8 years. And also before that, I was studying. I studied there for a year in 2007, 2008.
Right.
So it's like 10 years in total. It's like sightseeing and studying and working there. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a decade.
And when you then moved back to France, and was that then you were able to put 110% into writing new books and building business?
Yeah, I mean, it was easier. I had more time because before I had my job as a consultant. So I was working in the weekends, morning, lunchtime, evenings. It was harder. And now I have more time. So I was pushing hard on writing more books and being more productive. And it was worked very well after a couple of years. Really took off.
Right.
But it was a full-time job.
And then the move to Estonia, where you now live.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was in France. I don't like the administrative, chores, tasks, and wasting your time in France is very not effective, and you have a lot of taxes and stuff.
Right.
So because I'm working online, I just what's the best place for me to go. So I looked online on some different places I could go. And Estonia was kind of the most easiest, like business-wise. Creating a business is easy. Like you can do actually like in half an hour online. You can create your business. Yeah, really, like it's not joking.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it's affordable, and it's decent city. So I just decided to move and discover a new country. And and I'm thinking of going back to Japan as well, but now with the COVID, it's not possible. So I'm here for a while. So I'm learning Estonian a little bit, making some friends, trying to adapt.
Right.
Be part of the country. Yeah. So it's another story. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit? I think this story comes full circle. Where how and when did your book get published in Japanese? So, I know your book can now be found in Japanese bookstores, and tell me about that.
Yeah, that was a dream. I said, I wish I could, because I had a friend who told me, oh, I have a book in Japan, a writer friend, right? And he's selling very well. So, oh my god! And then the same translator contacted me at some point, said, oh, your books are great. Do you want to write a book for Japanese market? I said, oh yeah, sure. I was very excited about it. So I quickly went to, okay, let's do this. I was very quick to act. Let's write a book. Let's do it. And it was published last year in March 2020, just a year ago. I don't know how well it's doing. I haven't got the sales figures yet, but I think it's doing maybe okay. I don't know.
Wow.
But I heard it was, in some bookstores, in major bookstores in Tokyo at some point. And I actually haven't seen the book myself because they didn't send it to me as we were supposed to. I don't know. That's how it works sometimes. So I haven't seen the book, and I wanted to go to Japan and find my book, right? But I couldn't because of COVID. But yes, it was a big, I was very, very happy about that. It's like, imagine I was in Japan for many years. You had your book in a bookstore as opposed to being just on Amazon, which is great. Having your book in thousands of bookstores, hopefully hundreds of bookstores in Japan is great.
Yeah, that's I can't wait until travel opens up again and, see your bookshelf, your book on the bookshelf. Really, really cool.
Yeah.
Thibaut, a lot of the audience and myself, I think, you know, your story, it really, it's inspiring. You dreamed big and you worked really hard and you had this goal and you accomplished it. Is there advice that you'd like to share for people that are trying to chart a course to accomplish a goal, or they have this dream, or they feel, you know, I'm not really in alignment right now, but I feel I enjoy when I do this?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I was talking with a friend, and we were talking about this having these long-term goals. Like he had these 10-year goals, and just the key, I think, like just having your goals, like even if it's not perfect, obviously, you will probably change your goals over time. You will refine your goals, change your values, or change stuff, which is okay. But just having some kind of goals, like long-term goals, 5 years, 10-year goal, is going to change everything in your life, because then you can align your actions, your daily actions, instead of going, one right, left, backwards every day, wasting your energy. You can focus your actions toward that specific vision you have, and it's just so much powerful. And for me, it's just key. It's almost like you become super smart once you have a 10-year vision that is clear. That right. It's like you're having. I really believe it's like having an extra 20 point of IQ, because wow. I really believe that, like, honestly, because imagine how much more focus you have toward your goal, and how much energy you save from getting distracted along the way, right?
Right.
But then the key is, like, how do you find, the clarity part is difficult, but that's a process, iteration. You have to think about it many times during your life, but try to have some vision that excites you, just even if it's not perfect. Then write it down. That would be the first step, I would say. And then focus on one step. Just take the first step.
Right.
Like I wanted to sell millions of books, like when I started my business, right? I didn't know how, but I didn't care. I say, it doesn't matter. I think the how does not matter.
Right.
It's a why. And then you have your why. You just write down a plan. You take your first step, and you focus your energy on what you're excited about as much as you possibly can. And then you see what happens. I think it's the best you can do,
right.
In my opinion. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thibaut, thank you very much for your time. Now, if you could leave our audience, if there's a book that to get started with, and I'll be sure to put a link down below so that people can learn more about you. And but you've got a whole catalog of
yeah.
books. Is there one that you'd recommend that people maybe take a look at?
Yeah, I mean, coming back to what we just talked about, like about goals, setting goals and the focus. So my first book was called actually Goal Setting. So I think I can start with that. With my very first book, when I was still not successful, explaining how I was hopefully going to be successful in my field.
And you did it.
Yeah, it did. So it was kind of interesting. And then the second one they can check is Master Your Focus, which is again about goals and focus.
Okay.
So I would start with that. And the goals books talk about what you say, like alignments with your values, your passions, trying to find some kind of vision, and then moving toward that and having a plan.
Right.
The focus book is just similar. Like, just once you have that clarity, you can just reverse engineer and say, okay, what do I need to focus on every day, every week to get there? And eliminate everything else that is distraction. And really focus on the important tasks,
right,
which are often the hardest. That's the truth.
Right.
But if you want to achieve success, one more thing I can say, just don't work hard, but you have to do hard work. I don't say, don't work hard, do hard work.
Right.
Because you can hustle your entire life. And I have friends who try to be successful, they're never getting there. That's the reality. But you need to focus on what's making an impact, what's effective, and what is hard. And you do that. And it's hard. That's why nobody's doing it. So yeah.
Is that focus? Is that when you describe, there are some people that are working, but it's not, they're not finding success. What is that differentiator? Is it focused?
Yeah, I mean, it's with different things. One is just what I call the inaccurate thinking. So basically, you have some kind of goal, but you don't have the right plan to get there.
Right.
So you are deluded in some ways, or you don't really have enough feedback or reflect on your result and realize, okay, if it doesn't work, what works? So be able to find out what's the best way to achieve that goal, and really dig deeper, right?
Right.
Ask your friends, read the best books, hire someone,
right,
and try to get the best possible plan, basically the best thinking to achieve your goals. That's
Okay.
People miss that. And then you have to do the hard work. So be honest with yourself. Is it really, really impactful, this task I'm working on right now? And almost create like a routine of like a thought pattern, like every task you work on, you ask yourself this set of questions. Is it really the most important task I should be working on right now?
Right.
And if you do that over and over again, it becomes this kind of automatic habits and you get better results. So that's, I hope it answers the question.
Well, Thibaut, it's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. I've taken so much, and I know that Japan Seikatsu community has as well. So a big thank you from me and the entire community for your time today. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And I hope we can talk soon as well. Sounds good, Thibaut. Take care. Yeah, bye.